The whole village have already known your filthy story. You shoved your thing at the boy's face again. The summer holiday finally came. After saying goodbye sadly to the teacher moving to another school, Larry along with her sister and friends went to the beach. The sun was shining in the sand, the water was blue, a bunch of teenagers enthusiastically and freely released their youthful energy. With the waves smashing on the shore, 5 girls excitedly played chicken fight on the shoulders of the boys. But from a devout adult's perspective, that was off the limits. Therefore, no sooner had the 5 girls returned home than they were called to the punishment room by their grandmother. They tried to explain that it was just a game, but they were considered as indelicate. The 4th girl, hot-tempered, got angry at that time, burned down a chair and interrogated her grandmother. "Those chairs used to touch our butts too, aren't they gross?" They could resist their grandmother's criticism in the morning, but when their aggressive uncle came home at night, the 5 girls were exhausted. After their father passed away, their grandmother and uncle raised them. But in this pig-ignorant village, even their mother or grandmother didn't have a say in front of their uncle. He said that they were a disgrace to the family, and wanted to beat them. Their grandmother stood in front of them to protect her granddaughters, and promised to raise them well from now on, which helped them escape from violent punishment. But after that event, they were kept inside the house and couldn't step outside without permission. Even the big sister's fashionable clothes, favorite bubble gum and cosmetic were considered as the depravity and locked up. Of course, electronic things like cell phones, computers, and telephones were in the same situation. 5 girls could only stay inside the house and catch the flies, lie around the room, or entertain themselves to kill time in the boring summer holiday. During that time, their jobs were to help their grandmother do the chores, to learn to become a standard woman. Finally, the big sister couldn't put up with living like that anymore. After seeing a piece of paper thrown into her room by a kin, her crush, she sneaked out following the pipe to sneak to date. The youngest sister, Larry, didn't like any guys. But she was fond of football. She heard her friends saying there was a bus in the village that took the students to the football court, so she decided to sneak out like her big sister. The other sisters who weren't interested in football hurriedly wanted to get out and breathe the fresh air. So, they planned a getaway together. In order not to be caught by the adults, they took a shortcut to the bus station. But unfortunately, they continuously had small accidents on the way and missed the bus. Seeing that the chance was slipping away in front of their very eyes, they stopped a truck, begged the driver Yasin to help them chase the bus, and finally could watch a football match with their friends. On the other hand, their grandmother at home was preparing dinner. She saw a live stream on TV and found out that they were playing excitedly at the football court. It almost scared her to death. Thinking that the village boys would also watch that game, Aunt Emin cut off the electricity without saying a word. Then she vandalized the potential transformer of the village and made the whole village run out of electricity. The 5 girls' reckless action hadn't been found out by their uncle yet, but the price was that there was an additional steel door on the stairs. According to Larry, this house is nothing short of a prison. To let 5 naughty girls learn how to behave, their grandmother didn't allow them to go to school. She even arranged marriage for the big sister, who was still in her teen. She already had her crush, so she insisted on marrying a kin, and forced her grandmother to step back, and her grandmother promised her that if a kin came to propose, they could get married. The arranged marriage this time was passed on to the second sister. The second girl wasn't happy, but she didn't have a crush, so she didn't have an excuse and had to accept her grandmother's arrangement. Just like that, the big sister and the second one intended to walk down the aisle on the same day, but their feelings were the opposite. The big sister happily made out and danced with a kin, while the second one sat in the corner drinking wine and cried silently. Larry saw everything. She told her sister to run away. But the second sister spoke out the hurtful truth. "Where can I go?" "To the big city Istanbul. Everyone does that, don't they? Istanbul was thousands of miles away, and I don't know how to drive." The truth was, we were not only powerless when facing reality, but we also loathed it to the bones. At the second girl's first night of marriage, her father and mother-in-law guarded outside the bedroom and waited to see the white bed wrap spotted with red. But there weren't any red spots. Her parents-in-law took her to the hospital right and asked for a virginity test. Receiving a final answer from the doctor, the second sister was happy that the rest of her life wouldn't be so bad. The same thing happened to the third girl, and her choice was accepting it. As though she had lost the interest to everything, and nervously overate. A few days after, with a gun, she killed herself in the house. Seeing her once energetic third sister was now covered in burial sheets, Larry didn't want this tragedy to happen again. She often sought chances to sneak out to ask the driver Yasin, who had helped them, to teach her to drive. Of course, she had to pay a heavy price, which was whenever she was caught, one more layer of the fence was inside the house. When all the windows were fenced with the iron net, Larry finally knew how to drive. But there was not a hole in the house that she could sneak through. At the same time, the marriage of her fourth sister came. Larry had to risk. She seized the chance to keep the adult outside the door and told her fourth sister about the getaway plan. The uncle angrily told a bunch of people to come and smash the door and said that he wanted to kill them. But the 2 girls had moved all the heavy things inside the house to block all the entrances. The fence used to prevent them from getting out now blocked all the adults outside too, giving them time to solve the problems. Larry phoned Yasin to ask for help and packed some necessities, then grabbed his car key. When the adults were focusing on sawing the fence, she took her fourth sister to run out of the house in silence. Although they were so careful, but the engine noise still made the uncle find out their track. Larry wasn't very good at driving, so she was caught up with quickly. They had to get out of the car, hid behind a dark bush. Hopefully, there was a chance to live. Eventually, their uncle didn't see them and left. Yasin receives a phone call asking for help and didn't let Larry down. Yasin helped them to get to Istanbul. The movie doesn't reveal their final destination, but from the hug between Larry and the teacher we are comforted. Among the 5 girls in the movie, 2 of them are unprofessional actresses chosen from thousands of girls. They had beautiful brown hair, like wild horses with their beautiful mane. They bloomed in the sun, just like the ripe green apple had a charming and innocent smell. They should have a wonderful and free youth, but the stupidity of their family eliminated that. What was more ironic was that the uncle who always asked for their virtue often came into the second and third sister at night. Although the movie didn't show directly but relating to what the second girl said when taking the virginity test. I have done it with everyone in this world. And the third sister suddenly accepted to make love in the car of a stranger, and finally chose to end her life. Those corresponding details helped us to imagine the dirty behaviors of the uncle. The director destroyed everything for the best to show the audience the real tragedy of the girls violated. They don't have human rights and the simple respect which are necessary for life. Their protectors become the ones who harm them. The victims don't even know that they have become the ones who hurt other people. Make the family become a good wife factory. Their lives can only be ornaments for other families. But we have to understand that blocking and separating are counterproductive. High walls and steel doors can't capture the unconquerable souls. The hearts which always long for freedom are like the wild horses, trying to overcome any obstacles, and heading to the desirable future without hesitation.